Justin Bieber in $1 million debt, fighting to get out of contract. Based on Candace Owens and Cooper storyline, it all seems to be true. You can watch all the storyline on their YouTube channels. And without further ado, let's open his astrology chart. Stars align and planets glow. Mystic secrets will... Okay, Justin Bieber was born allegedly on the 1st March 1994, very young, very bright. Ascendant, we can see his ascendant is in Scorpio. Scorpio are famous for their charisma, for their this energy that everybody's like a flying like a bee to the honey, sort of. And what do we see here? The ascendant is in 5th degree of Scorpio, which is Anuradha Nakshatra, ruled by Saturn. Saturn overall is a heavy planet, and it's sending us to the 4th house of, you know, family matters, the childhood, and we can see right away here that Mars, Saturn, Sun, the 3 malefics, out of 7 planets, we have 3 malefics in 1 house and 1 benefic. Poor little Venus here. So just from that, we can only say that obviously right now he probably suffers from the inner conflict, constant battles inside of him, and also his childhood was pretty rough and tough. The mom is distant, moon is in 0 degree, anoretic, it's called anoretic degree, 0 degree, even though right, it's with a Jupiter, which I will talk later, even though it's conjuncted with a fixed star Spica that is very, very, very fortunate for people who's in music industry or in any creative arts. But moon here is the ruler of the 9th house of the father. So whenever we see ruler of the 9th house afflicted, being weak in 12th house, that's mean father was, at to say the least, distant. And what we know, that there was no father figure in his life, at least that's what we know. Okay, so let's get back to the Anuradha Nakshatra, which is it's quite interesting because the symbol of this nakshatra is lotus, and lotus famously known to grow in the dirty water, and nonetheless it manages to stay pure. So this is something that it's a part of the mythology of Nakshatra Anuradha, and this is why I use Vedic astrology, by the way, because there's so many different tools that we can use for analysis and predictions. And so despite all the challenges, despite all the hardships in his chart and his life, and the struggles, whatever is happening in this life doesn't get to affect his soul. His soul is protected. It's gonna stay pure, sitting in and growing despite of all the dirtiness around him. Now, in Lagna here, we have ascendant Lagna conjuncting Pluto. Pluto is a planet of anything underground, hidden, you know. Sometimes it can be, you know, connected with some dark spiritual forces. And there's also Rahu here that is debilitated in the Scorpio, right? So it gives very complex, very different meanings. This depends from which side we want to look into it. So the most planets here are on the dark side of the chart, on the left, and on the bright side or daylight is only Jupiter and Moon. Fortunately, it's 2 benefics that are basically supporting the fame. That's what gave him talents, that's what gave him fame. And despite of all the difficulties of the placement in the 12th house, Jupiter in the big enemy sign, Moon is afflicted. They're ruling not a bad houses. They're ruling house of resources. They're ruling house of good karma and past life good deeds. And they're ruling of the 9th house, also one of the best house. So this is what gives him the positive sides. I don't like that he was born in the night, so that's mean whatever is Saturn's bringing, it's gonna be more harsh, it's gonna be more difficult, and his Saturn Mahadasha starts 2031, and Saturn has very low points in Ishtabala and very high in Kashtabala. That gives me the idea that Saturn will give him, starting 2031, more negative effects, more negative events, more harsh aspects in his life than the good ones. This is sort of, even though he's in his own sign. Okay. So Jupiter in Moon in the 12th house also tells me about his neediness in privacy. He probably only can able to self-regulate, or only able to replenish lost energy. For example, after the concert, he really needs to be alone or stay isolated to sort of get back his energy level. And if I imagine, for example, someone on the tour and you constantly needs to be on the concert, constantly needs to put yourself on, in front of the big audience, in front of the public, there's not much time for this. And possibly this is what led him to usage of different substances to sort of escape into that realm, and to try to replenish what's been lost in front of the public. And it's also very counterproductive, because he's supposed to be like he's a famous person all the time. Everybody's watching him, and there's this very significant 12th house. So I think it's a big challenge for him from the start to be famous. It's not natural for him. It's not something that he's actually happy about. That's what I can read from the chart. It does, though. Look, Jupiter here, it creates a powerful money yoga because it's ruler of the 2nd house of resources and 5th house of luck. But it's in the 12th house, so it's all behind the doors, and it's all hidden, and it's probably getting lost. So whatever money he's getting, that is, we as a public might see, it all gets into the 12th house of losses. And the Jupiter is a current Mahadasha. It started in 2015 and until 2020, until 2031, it's going to be a Jupiter Mahadasha. So whatever is happening now, it's going to keep happening. And Jupiter is aspecting also the 6th house of Jupiter is also aspecting the 6th house of sorry, I forgot to mention about Jupiter being in 12th house, because 12th house is also about the hospitalizations, right? And so he's been famously diagnosed about with Lyme disease and another disease that led to his face paralysis. And it's also the topics of the 12th house. So I believe that this chart might be really be a good timing, although I cannot be 100% sure, because unfortunately I cannot use the other divisional charts here, and it's like, look how many it's here. It's a lot of them. So this tool is for now is hidden for me, because I need to verify like his minutes and seconds of the birth to use those charts. And so Jupiter, yes, he's aspecting six houses of diseases, enemies, also courtships. So this thing about the contract and he's in debt for like many millions or even billions, it might be very, very truthful information. And again, because the Jupiter is till 2031, and it just, it's gonna keep happening to him, unfortunately. So the Venus here, because now it goes Jupiter Venus until October 2025. You see, both these planets, Jupiter and Venus, they're ruling second and the houses of Marcas, second and seventh houses, that are famously known for death. He's 28 years old, so it's very unlikely that he's gonna die, although, they might be, with his level of self-harm and abuse with the different chemicals, it might be happening can happen as a, how you call it, when you take too much. And so I just don't want to say this word also here. So until the October 2025, he should be very careful about his health in general, and also with taking whatever he might be taking. Now, so based on the periods here, so Jupiter Sun, Jupiter Moon, so Jupiter Sun, I would say, seems to be better for his career, a little lighter than the Jupiter Venus. Jupiter Moon is not as bad as the next Jupiter Mars and Jupiter Rahu and the whole Mahadasha Saturn. This is where his soul will need to work very hard on his inner work. There is because, well, actually starting from Moon, because this Jupiter Sun, I guess he's gonna get some like a fresh air, but then Jupiter Moon, because Moon is in some bandha or a very tight connection with Mars and Saturn in the 4th house. And so, Jupiter by itself, it's not really connected much with the 4th house, but once it starts, it's going to be Jupiter Moon, the activation of the Moon during sub-period. There will be also activation of these energies that are going to be present since then. And one second. So, couple words about Moon here. Moon is very weak, although it's connected with the Spica. So, basically, it's like the filter that he has in his mind. This is how he sees the world. So, it's very innocent. It's very talented. It's conjuncted with this very beautiful fixed star that gives a lot of talents in music and arts and creativity. And because it's in 0 degree and in the 12th house, all the significations of Moon is destined to be sort of lost in one way or another. So Moon is a mind, so it's a loss of mind sometimes, or there can be also the chance of like losing his mind, sort of. Moon is emotion, so he's losing his emotions or cannot truly like express them or grasp them. So this is very good for him that he found himself in music, because this is how he actually healed himself from a lot of inner turmoil. Moon is a habit, so it's a loss of habits or no habits at all whatsoever. Moon is a comfort, so there's no feeling of comfort. So he needs to build it over time in his life. And Moon is a mother, so it's a loss of mother. Mother was most likely being abusive, and with the Venus here, I will talk later about possible abuse from mother figures, from woman figures in his life. Moon, generally, if I see the Moon being weak, I would say I need to look to the Mars. And if the Mars strong, it's gonna support Moon. It's gonna give it strength and ability to live and to prosper. But here, Mars is an enemy sign with another two malefics, very strong one, Saturn also. So it gives a constant emotional agitation, inner conflicts, and struggle between security and bold actions. So that's about his future periods starting 2026. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of inner conflicts and possibility losing mind, or losing control over substances. Again, starting actual period of Saturn in 2031, I would say that the period is very, very harsh, very difficult for him. And before that, there will be a lot of courtships, there will be a lot of fightings with his obvious or inner enemies, outer or inner enemies. Using Yogini Dasha, I calculated that the rising sign till 2021 is Capricorn. And if we check the aspects, there's also there's no good planets here except Mercury. But Mercury becomes a ruler of the house with fighting with the enemies, fighting with the diseases, fighting with struggles. So this is just to confirm that it's not going to get easy on him. And starting, with the period Saturn, I would say healing might come for him in a service, discipline, and inner work. Just a couple words I wanted to say about his abuse, right, in his chart, the signs of abuse in his chart. So he became famous during Rahu Mahadasha, Rahu period. And Rahu is very close tied to Pluto, to his ascendant. By the way, P. Diddy's rising sign is also Scorpio. So they sort of like, I don't want to say anything. So Rahu debilitated, signs of abuse. We're going to that now. It's surrounded, it gives them, not just during the period of Rahu, which is... Rahu was from when he was 3 years old to 21, so basically his whole life, right? So when Rahu debilitated and in his Lagna, so it gives us this, the meaning, what I'm gonna say now, for the whole life. This is something that he needs to work through his whole life. When you have displacement, and someone has displacement, that means the person is surrounded by cheaters, immoral people, thieves, misleading people. And again, abuse in Hollywood for him started exactly during the Rahu period. And Rahu is connected with Jupiter because the ruler of Nakshatra, which Rahu is, Vishaka, is Jupiter, and it go and send us again to the 12th house. And 12th house, here we have a Jupiter and a big enemy, and weak, super weak moon, super talented but super weak. The moon that will not be able to build the boundaries, moon that will not be able to signify who is the real friend and who is the enemy, the moon that will not be able to build any walls and any thick skin around it. And the 12th house, when it's afflicted like this, it tells us about surveillance abuse and monitoring every step. So this is where we goes to paparazzi, or maybe there's another surveillance abuse that we are not aware of. So going back to this situation here in the 4th house, the abuse that can be connected with these interesting placements here. So the Venus is afflicted by 3 malefics, and it's also the Nakshatra ruler is also Jupiter. It's also sent us again to the 12th house of losses. So Venus in the fourth house initially tells us about, you know, unhappiness in love and care in childhood from mother, but later on in life it can tell us about possible molestation from woman figures. And because it's in a sign of Saturn, it might be women who are older. And I just can't help myself but think about some video where Helen was taking interview with Justin Bieber, and she was so nasty, and you know, like making this jokes that he's like, oh, smart, like sweet face, and like, I mean, everybody was so abusive towards him. You know, it's like, it's almost like it was a period of justice for Britney, but now it should be justice for Justin, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. And look where it brought Britney in the end, right? I don't know if it was good for her. And so, speaking of moon, again, you know, I just want to add that afflicted moon in the 12th house can be emotional, psychological abuse from mom, probably. And later on in life, it can be mind games from other people. And the Jupiter that the Mahadasha he leaves now, the period, because it's afflicted, it can bring abuse, attention, monetary abuse, spiritual abuse, and religious abuse. This is what is happening with him right now. He's under monetary abuse, spiritual, and religious. I don't know what, because I've heard that he's been doing some spiritual work. I've heard that he's been doing some praying. But he needs to be very careful, especially during this period. And then Saturn is also, to be honest, connected with Jupiter, because Saturn's Nakshatra ruler is Rahu, and Rahu, Nakshatra ruler, is Jupiter. So even during the Saturn period, it's like it's never-ending battles with the inner enemies and outer enemies. And hopefully Saturn will bring him to the true spiritual path, to someone who will not abuse him. In general, I guess he just needs to find his path to God. And I guess on that note, I'm gonna be wrapping up. It's very hard to see charts like this, and I really wish Justin justice and freedom from inner and outer enemies. Okay, I hope you liked this video. Please click like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next astrological investigative quest. Bye.